the tulip mania in Amsterdam, you could trade a fine bulb for a house, a carriage, and 2 fine horses.
Wow.
And that's your meme trades, that's your crypto, that's your, right, that's your Beanie Baby type stuff. When we did the Beanie Baby stuff, right, that was 1636. And then the British government flooded the world with liquidity in the 1720s, and a guy named John Law said, well, let's convince people that if they go down to the South Seas and form a bunch of companies that they'll get rich doing it. Well, that's a growth stock bubble. Well, this time we did them together. And Charlie Munger calls it the totality of it. In his career, he said it's the biggest financial euphoria episode of his career because the totality, he means because we did like 7 different financial euphoria episodes in about a 10-year time period.
So from what you just said, the logical question for me is, are we going to have a very violent move to the downside soon? What's your answer to that question?
Well, we just think in terms of it being like the 1970s. So it's funny, here we're dealing with inflation, and all the things we learned in college about inflation, no one talks about. Inflation is too many people with too much money chasing too few goods. And so the last 2 inflation episodes prior to this one were baby boomers in the 1970s, 75% more people in the U.S. than the prior generation, with money created by the Vietnam War and Johnson's Great Society legislation and got monetized, chasing too few goods, kicked off by the Arab oil embargo in 73, 74 so then the second one is China decides they want to do business. And so 1.2 billion people that had never had a chance to do commercial enterprise and free market activities are too many people with too much money. The Chinese government borrowed. Now you got the outcroppings of that, chasing too few goods. And that was 2000 through 2010. That led to the brick trade. By the way, that's all anybody wanted to talk about in 2010. The 10 largest companies in the world were all associated with suckling on the China boom, right? Okay, so now 92 million millennials, 40% more people than the prior age group, who postponed adulthood for about 7 years, right? Adulthood starts at 30, especially for men in the United States, versus 22 like it was 30 years ago, with too much $10 trillion worth of 2 administrations' liquidity to fight COVID, chasing too few goods, kicked off by the Saudi Sunday taking the price of oil to 0 in March of 2020 and setting up the greatest...
Negative $37 on the WTI close on the April contract.
Setting up the greatest bull market in oil and gas that probably will exceed what happened in the 1970s. Because on top of that, there is a religious experience out there that says that fossil fuels are evil and we're going to make a quick transition away from them. And so nobody's making new. We're going to have it. And they're just setting up a huge squeeze there.